The bright afternoon sun streamed through the windows of the Berkeley Physics Lab as Dr. Olivia Martinez stared at her computer screen. She rubbed her tired eyes and took another sip of cold coffee. For 3 days straight, she had been analyzing the strange signal patterns her team's radio telescope had picked up. These patterns didn't match any known cosmic phenomenon. "This can't be right," she muttered to herself. The signal had a clear mathematical structure, too perfect to be natural. She zoomed in on the wavelength graph again, her heart beating faster. The pattern repeated exactly every 107.3 seconds. The lab door opened and her research assistant, Gary Peterson, walked in carrying a stack of printouts. "You're still here?" Gary asked, setting down the papers. "It's almost 7 p.m. "Look at this," Olivia said, pointing to her screen. "These signals have a pattern, a perfect pattern." Gary leaned over her shoulder, his eyes widening as he studied. "The data. That's impossible. Unless someone sent them," Olivia finished his thought. Within a week, observatories around the world confirmed what Olivia had discovered. The signal was coming from just beyond Mars's orbit. It wasn't random noise or a natural phenomenon. It was a message. The world governments tried to keep it quiet, but news leaked quickly. Humanity had just received its first confirmed contact from an alien intelligence. Global panic mixed with excitement as people waited for more information. 23 days after Olivia's discovery, the answer came in a way no one expected. A ship appeared in Earth's orbit, its smooth silver hull reflecting sunlight like a mirror. It was massive, nearly a mile long, and made no attempt to hide itself. The ship broadcast a message in 147 different languages. "Greetings, people of Earth. We are representatives of the Galactic Council. We come in peace and wish to establish formal contact." Olivia watched the news broadcast from her apartment, her hands shaking as she reached for her phone. It had already started ringing. "Dr. Martinez, this is General Scott with the Joint Chiefs. We need you in Washington now." 2 days later, Olivia found herself in an underground bunker beneath the Pentagon. Military personnel rushed around, setting up equipment and briefing government officials. The president himself sat at the head of a long table, listening intently. "To advisors, Dr. Martinez," the president said, noticing her arrival. "Thank you for coming. We need your expertise." A tall man in a crisp suit approached her. "Jack Murray, State Department. You'll be joining our first contact team." "Why me?" Olivia asked. "I'm a physicist, not a diplomat." "Because you found them first," Jack replied. "And because we need someone who understands the science. They're requesting to meet within 48 hours. The meeting location was set for a neutral site, the United Nations headquarters in New York. Security was unprecedented, with military units from a dozen countries securing the area. News crews camped outside, held back by barricades. Olivia stood nervously in the Grand Assembly Hall alongside Jack Murray, the President, the UN Secretary General, and 20 other world leaders and experts. A diplomatic aide named Alan Goodman stood nearby, his notepad ready. He had been assigned to document everything. "They're here," someone whispered. A side door opened, and 5 beings entered the room. 3 were humanoid, but clearly not human, tall with bluish skin, large eyes, and 6-fingered hands. The other 2 resembled nothing Olivia had ever seen before. One floated above the ground in what looked like a personal gravity field, while the other moved on multiple tentacle-like limbs. The tallest of the humanoids stepped forward. "I am High Counselor Zixthar of the Thalasian Empire, representing the Galactic Council. We have been observing your world for some time." The room fell silent as the alien's words were transmitted through a small device on its chest, perfectly translated into English. "Earth has reached a critical development stage," Zixthar continued. "Your recent breakthrough in faster-than-light communication signals has been detected by our monitoring stations. According to Council protocol, this qualifies your species for official contact." The President stepped forward. "We welcome you to Earth and look forward to peaceful relations." Zixthar made a gesture that might have been a smile. "Your world is classified as a Level 2 civilization. This is primitive by galactic standards but showing great promise. Olivia noticed some officials bristling at the word primitive, but they maintained their composure. The floating alien moved forward. I am Counselor Neeb of Proxima Centauri. We have much to share with humanity, but there are protocols to follow. You will be invited to send representatives to the Council as observers. You cannot participate in decisions until reaching Level 3 status. The meeting continued for hours as the aliens explained the basics of galactic politics, technology, and history. The Galactic Council included 317 advanced species who had formed an alliance thousands of years ago. Earth was among the newest worlds to be contacted. Alan Goodman took detailed notes of everything, his pen moving quickly across his notepad. Olivia noticed that he never seemed to miss a detail, no matter how complex the information. When the meeting concluded, Zixthar approached Olivia directly. Dr. Martinez, your discovery of our signal was impressive. Most Level 2 civilizations take years to detect and decode our messages. I was just doing my job, Olivia replied, feeling strangely calm now despite talking to an alien. Perhaps your, species has more potential than initial assessment suggested, the alien said. We will return in 6 months to transport your representatives to Galactic Council headquarters. As the aliens departed, the room erupted into excited discussions. The president approached Olivia with a serious expression. Dr. Martinez, I'm naming you as Earth's scientific ambassador to the Galactic Council. We need someone who understands what they're talking about when they discuss advanced physics. But sir, I'm not a diplomat, Olivia protested. None of us are prepared for this, the president replied. But you discovered them first. That has to mean something. Alan Goodman stepped forward. Sir, if I may, I'd like to volunteer as Dr. Martinez's assistant. My photographic memory could be useful. The president nodded. Approved. As they left the building, Olivia and Alan stood for a moment watching the alien ship rise silently into the clouds, vanishing in seconds. 6 months to prepare to represent Earth to an alliance of 317 alien species, Alan said. No pressure, Olivia laughed nervously. Just another day at the office, right? Neither of them could imagine that in less than a year they would challenge the greatest minds in the galaxy and change humanity's place in the universe forever. The human delegation stood in stunned silence as they entered the Galactic Council headquarters for the first time. The space station was enormous, a spinning ring structure orbiting a beautiful binary star system. Through the massive viewing windows, Olivia Martinez could see ships of various shapes and sizes coming and going, each one more amazing than the last. I never imagined anything like this, she whispered to Alan Goodman, who stood beside her, his eyes wide with wonder. No, human has, Alan replied, already taking mental notes of everything they saw. His photographic memory was working overtime, recording every detail of their surroundings. 6 months had passed quickly since first contact. Olivia and Alan, along with 3 other human representatives, had undergone intensive training for this moment. They had learned the basics of galactic politics, cultural protocols, and even some common alien languages, though most species use translation devices. A tall, slender alien with purple skin approached them. Welcome to Harmony Station, home of the Galactic Council. I am Kelto, your orientation guide. If you will follow me, I will show you to your quarters. The humans followed Kelto through gleaming corridors filled with beings of all descriptions. Some looked almost human, while others were so different that Olivia struggled to understand how they could even be alive. One seemed to be made entirely of swirling gas contained in a special suit. Their quarters were surprisingly comfortable, with gravity and air adjusted to Earth standards. Each human had a private room connected to a common area where they could meet. Tomorrow your formal orientation begins, Kelto explained. Until then, please rest and adjust to station time. After Kelto left, Olivia examined the information panel on her wall. It contained a wealth of data about the station and the council. As she browsed through the categories, one caught her eye. Current scientific challenges. The list was long, but at the very top was something called the gravitational flux problem. Curious, she tapped on it. A complex series of equations and diagrams appeared, along with a brief description. Unsolved for 1032 standard years. The reconciliation of quantum effects with gravitational forces across dimensional boundaries remains the greatest scientific challenge facing council physicists. Olivia read further, her excitement growing. This was similar to problems she had worked on back on Earth, though much more advanced. The implications of solving it would be enormous. Revolutionary new forms of space travel, energy production, and technology would become possible. The next morning, the human delegation attended their first orientation session. Aliens of all kinds filled the large chamber, many shooting curious glances at the humans. "Today we welcome our newest observer species," announced a large insectoid being from a raised platform. "Humans from the planet Earth join us as Level 2 observers." Some aliens made sounds that the translation devices interpreted as polite applause. Others simply stared. After the welcome ceremony, the humans were given a tour of the science facilities. Olivia was amazed by the laboratories and research equipment, far beyond anything on Earth. In one large lab, she noticed a group of aliens gathered around a holographic display showing the same equations she had seen the night before. "Excuse me," she said to their guide. "What are they working on?" "Ah, the gravitational flux problem," the guide replied. "Every few months, someone thinks they have a new approach. They always fail." As they moved closer, Olivia could see a tall, bird-like alien gesturing at the display. "The resonance cascade still collapses at the quantum boundary," it was saying. "We need a completely different approach." "Dr. Martinez, isn't this similar to your work on Earth?" Alan whispered. "Similar, but much more complex," she replied. "Still, there's something familiar about the way they're approaching it." As the tour continued, they were introduced to Dr. Varlim, the council's leading physicist. The alien had gray skin with faint blue patterns and 4 arms, each ending in delicate fingers. "So you are interested in the gravitational flux problem?" Dr. Varlim asked when Olivia mentioned it. "Yes, it seems fascinating," she replied. Dr. Varlim made a gesture that their translation devices interpreted as polite amusement. "No offense intended, but this problem has stumped our greatest minds for over a millennium. It may be too advanced for Level 2 understanding." Olivia felt her cheeks flush but kept her composure. "Perhaps, but sometimes a fresh perspective can be helpful." "Indeed," Dr. Varlim replied, clearly not believing it. "Well, you are welcome to study it, though I would suggest focusing on areas more accessible to your species." That evening, back in their quarters, Olivia couldn't stop thinking about the problem. She pulled up the information again on her wall panel. "You're really interested in this, aren't you?" Alan asked, bringing her a cup of something that tasted almost like coffee from their food synthesizer. "It's the most interesting physics problem I've ever seen," she admitted. "And there's something about their approach that seems wrong somehow." Alan smiled. "During the tour today, I memorized every equation and diagram they showed us about it. Would it help if I wrote them down for you?" Olivia stared at him. "You memorized all of that?" "There were hundreds of equations. Photographic memory, remember?" Alan tapped his temple. "It's why they chose me for this mission. I never forget anything I see." Soon their common room was covered with notes as Alan wrote down everything he remembered. Olivia studied the equations, making her own notes and calculations. "This is interesting," she said after several hours. "They're approaching dimensional boundaries as static interfaces. But what if they're actually dynamic resonance points?" Alan looked confused. "Is that important?" "It could be. It's like they're treating the problem as if space-time itself is constant across dimensions. But what if it's actually in constant flux?" 3 days later, they attended a formal reception for all observer species. Olivia had continued studying the problem, in every spare moment, much to the amusement of Dr. Varlim, who had mentioned her charming primitive curiosity to other scientists. During the reception, Olivia overheard 2 alien scientists discussing the problem near a refreshment table. "The Alivarian approach failed again," one said. "They tried forcing quantum alignment through a nested field matrix. It always fails at the resonance point, the other replied. Perhaps this problem has no solution. Olivia listened carefully, not interrupting but absorbing every word. Something they said triggered a new thought in her mind. Later that night, she woke Alan with an excited knock on his door. "I think I see what they're missing," she said when he opened it, her eyes bright with excitement. "They keep trying to force alignment across dimensional boundaries, but what if the boundaries themselves are the key?" Alan yawned, but nodded. "Tell me more." As station night turned to day, the two humans worked together, Alan recording everything, and Olivia developing a completely new mathematical framework. She called it dimensional resonance theory, and it approached the problem from a fundamentally different angle than anything the council had tried before. "We'll need more time to work this out," she said, as they finally stopped to rest. "But I think we're onto something." What neither of them realized was that their approach would soon shake the very foundations of galactic science. 3 weeks had passed since the human delegation arrived at the Galactic Council headquarters. While the other human representatives attended diplomatic meetings and cultural exchanges, Olivia and Alan spent every free moment working on the gravitational flux problem. Their quarters had transformed into a makeshift research lab. The walls were covered with equations and diagrams, some written on actual paper they had brought from Earth. Olivia found it easier to think when she could physically write things down, rather than just use the alien computer systems. "I still don't understand why you prefer paper," Alan said one morning as he brought her breakfast. "The holographic displays can show everything in 3 dimensions." "That's exactly the problem," Olivia replied, taking a sip from her cup. "The alien systems are designed to think in their way. Sometimes limitations help creativity." Alan sat down across from her. "Any progress?" Olivia sighed and rubbed her tired eyes. "I keep hitting the same wall they do. Something's missing." Later that day, Olivia stood by the large viewport in their common area, staring out at the binary stars. The 2 suns danced around each other in a perfect gravitational balance, one large and yellow, the other smaller and orange. She had taken to watching them when she needed to clear her mind. As she watched the stars, something about their movement caught her attention. The way they pulled on each other, creating ripples in space-time. "That's it," she whispered, her eyes widening. She rushed to her notes and began scribbling furiously. Alan, come quick." Alan hurried in from his room. "What's happened?" "Look at these stars," she said, pointing out the viewport. "We've been thinking about dimensional boundaries all wrong. The aliens see them as fixed walls between realities. But they're not walls at all, they're membranes. Flexible, responsive membranes." "I'm not following," Alan said, confused. Olivia grabbed a sheet of paper and quickly drew 2 circles. "These are the stars. Now watch what happens when I add their gravitational fields." She drew wavy lines around them, showing how they intersected and influenced each other. "Now imagine this same pattern happening across dimensional boundaries." She continued, her voice growing excited. "What if quantum effects don't need to be forced into alignment with gravity? What if they naturally resonate across dimensions like music?" Alan watched as she filled page after page with new equations. "Is this why the aliens can't solve it? They don't see it this way?" "Exactly," Olivia said. "They've been approaching this problem from their perspective for over 1,000 years. They're so advanced that they've overcomplicated it. Sometimes being primitive means seeing things more clearly." For the next 5 days, Olivia barely slept. She worked constantly, developing what she called dimensional resonance theory. Alan helped by bringing her food, organizing her notes, and using his perfect memory to recall complex equations from the alien database. "We need to test this," Olivia said on the 6th day. She looked exhausted, but excited. "We need to run simulations." "How?" "Dr. Varleem won't let us use the main research computers," Alan pointed out. "Remember how he laughed when you asked last week?" Olivia frowned, then her face brightened. "But we don't need his permission to use the public scientific database. It has basic simulation capabilities." They made their way to the public area of the station where visitors could access general information, Finding an empty terminal, they began inputting Olivia's equations into the system. "This might take a while," she warned as they started the simulation. "We're asking it to calculate some pretty complex—" The terminal beeped almost immediately. A message appeared. "Simulation complete, results available." They stared at each other in surprise. "That was fast," Alan said. Olivia checked the results, then checked them again. "This can't be right. It says the simulation was successful. The equations balanced perfectly. Maybe we entered something wrong," Alan suggested. They ran the simulation again with slight variations. Each time it worked perfectly. Olivia's theory was correct. "We need to do one more test," she said. A practical application. They selected a theoretical spaceship design from the database and applied Olivia's equations to its propulsion system. According to the simulation, the ship would be able to travel 10 times faster than current Council technology while using half the energy. "We did it," Olivia whispered, staring at the screen in disbelief. "We actually solved it." That night they celebrated quietly in their quarters. The other human representatives were impressed but didn't fully understand the significance of what Olivia had accomplished. "So what now?" Alan asked as they shared a drink of something that tasted almost like apple juice. "Do we tell Dr. Varlim?" Olivia thought for a moment. "No. He wouldn't believe us. We need a bigger audience." "The scientific conference," Alan suggested. "It's in 3 days. Everyone important will be there." Olivia nodded slowly. "They're having a special session on the gravitational flux problem. If I could present there—" "Can you?" "We're just observers. According to the rules, any scientist can request 5 minutes to present a new approach," Olivia said. "They might only let me speak as a curiosity, the primitive human with a cute theory, but that's all we need." The next morning, Olivia submitted her request to present at the conference. By afternoon, she had received approval, along with a message that seemed politely amused at her boldness. "They gave us the last slot on the last day," she told Alan, "right after all the important speakers." "Perfect," Alan replied with a smile. "They'll be expecting a simple primitive theory they can dismiss. Instead, they'll get the solution to a 1,000-year problem." Olivia spent the next 2 days preparing her presentation. She simplified her explanation as much as possible and focused on the practical applications. Alan helped her organize the material and memorized every detail in case something went wrong with their presentation system. The night before the conference, Olivia stood at the viewport again, watching the binary stars. "Are you nervous?" Alan asked, joining her. "Terrified," she admitted. "What if I'm wrong? What if there's a flaw in my theory that I didn't see?" "Then we'll learn from it and try again," Alan said simply. "But I don't think you're wrong. I think tomorrow is going to change everything." Olivia took a deep breath and nodded. One way or another, tomorrow will be interesting. As they watched the stars dance around each other, neither of them could have predicted just how dramatically their lives and humanity's place in the galaxy were about to change. The Grand Science Hall was the largest room Olivia had seen on the station. Thousands of beings from across the galaxy filled the circular chamber, with floating platforms accommodating species that needed special environments. At the center was a raised stage with holographic projection equipment that could display images and equations in full 3-dimensional detail. "There are so many of them," Olivia whispered to Alan as they waited in a small preparation room. Through a monitor, they could see the crowd gathering. "Don't think about the numbers," Alan advised. "Just focus on your work." The conference had been running for 2 days already. They had attended several sessions, watching as brilliant alien minds presented their latest attempts at solving the gravitational flux problem. Some approaches seemed promising but ultimately failed at crucial points. Others were interesting but impractical. Dr. Varlim was scheduled to speak right before Olivia. As the council's leading physicist, his session was given a full hour, rather than the standard 30 minutes. Olivia's presentation was allotted just 5 minutes. "The final regular session of the conference is about to begin," a voice announced over the speakers. "Please welcome Dr. Varlim." The four-armed alien took the stage to enthusiastic applause. His presentation was impressive, showing a detailed approach that came closer to solving the problem than most others had. Still, at the critical point, his equations broke down. As you can see, Dr. Varleem concluded, we are making progress. Perhaps in another century we will achieve a breakthrough. More applause followed as he left the stage. Then the announcement came. We now have a special presentation from our human guests. Dr. Olivia Martinez from Earth will present her approach to the gravitational flux problem. A murmur ran through the crowd. Many aliens shifted in their seats, preparing to leave. A 5-minute presentation by a primitive species at the end of a long conference was not considered must-see content. Olivia walked onto the stage, her heart pounding. Alan gave her an encouraging nod from the side. Thank you for this opportunity, she began, her voice steady despite her nerves. I understand that my world is new to your council, and that humans are considered primitive by your standards. Some polite laughter rippled through the audience. But sometimes a fresh perspective can be valuable, she continued. For the past 3 weeks I have studied your approaches to the gravitational flux problem. All of them share a common assumption about dimensional boundaries. She activated the holographic system, displaying the standard model that all council scientists used. This model treats dimensional boundaries as fixed interfaces where forces must be reconciled. Olivia took a deep breath. But what if the boundaries themselves are not fixed? What if they are dynamic, resonant membranes? She tapped a control, and the display changed to show her new model. Instead of rigid lines between dimensions, her model showed flowing, wave-like boundaries that responded to forces from either side. In human music, we have a concept called resonance. When two strings vibrate at the right frequencies, they create harmony. I believe dimensional boundaries work the same way. The audience had grown quieter. Several aliens who had been preparing to leave paused, their attention caught by the unusual display. Using this model, Olivia continued, I have developed what I call dimensional resonance theory. Instead of forcing quantum effects to align with gravitational forces, we can create resonance between them. She displayed her core equations. They were elegantly simple compared to the complex formulations the council scientists had been working with. Complete silence fell over the hall. Several alien scientists leaned forward, studying the equations with intense concentration. To demonstrate, I've applied these principles to a standard drive system. Olivia showed a simulation of a spaceship using her equations. As you can see, it achieves 10 times the speed with half the energy consumption. Dr. Varleem had returned to the hall and was standing at the back, his forearms crossed as he watched with narrowed eyes. The most important insight, Olivia explained, is that dimensional boundaries are not obstacles to be overcome. They are natural connection points waiting to be properly utilized. She displayed one final equation, the mathematical heart of her theory. This reconciles quantum effects with gravitational forces across all known dimensions. For several seconds, no one moved or spoke. Then a small, 6-legged alien stood up near the front. Have you tested these equations? It asked. Yes, using your public scientific database, Olivia replied. All simulations were successful. More questions came rapidly now. How did you develop this approach? Why has no one seen this before? Can this be applied to communications as well as transportation? Olivia answered each question clearly and confidently. As she spoke, more scientists crowded forward, their initial skepticism replaced by growing excitement. High Counselor Zixthar had entered the hall and was watching from a private viewing box. His expression was unreadable, but he leaned forward with clear interest. Finally, Dr. Varleem moved to the center of the hall. The crowd parted for him as he approached the stage. These equations, he said slowly, they should not work. They are too simple. Yet they do work, Olivia replied calmly. Dr. Varleem was silent for a long moment, his eyes moving rapidly as he mentally checked her calculations. Then, to everyone's surprise, he made a formal gesture of respect, touching all 4 hands to his chest. I have spent 300 years working on this problem, he said, his voice carrying clearly through the hall. I believe Dr. Martinez has solved it. A collective gasp went through the audience, followed by a buzz of excited conversation. Several scientists were already running their own calculations on personal devices, checking and rechecking Olivia's work. But how? Someone called out. How could a level 2 species solve what our best minds could not? Perhaps, Dr. Varleem said thoughtfully, it is because they are level 2. They have not been taught for centuries that certain approaches are impossible. They see with fresh eyes. Alan stepped onto the stage beside Olivia. Dr. Martinez didn't just solve your physics problem, he said. She showed that different perspectives can see things that others miss. That's the real breakthrough here. High Counselor Zixthar stood in his viewing box, gaining immediate silence from the crowd. This, he said gravely, is unexpected. A verification team will confirm these findings immediately. If correct, the council must convene to discuss the implications. As Olivia and Alan left the stage, the hall erupted in noise. Some aliens rushed forward wanting to speak with them. Others formed heated discussion groups arguing over the details of the theory. A few simply sat in stunned silence. In the corridor outside, Olivia leaned against a wall, suddenly exhausted. We did it, Alan said, grinning. You did it. I think I just changed everything, Olivia replied, the reality of what she had accomplished finally hitting her. For better or worse, Alan agreed. Nothing will be the same after today. As if to confirm his words, an official-looking alien approached them. Dr. Martinez, Mr. Goodman, High Counselor Zixthar requests your presence immediately. The emergency. Council is being assembled. They exchanged a nervous glance. This was moving much faster than they had expected. What does that mean? Olivia asked. It means, the alien replied, that human status in the galaxy is about to be re-evaluated. The emergency council chamber was smaller than the Grand Science Hall, but far more impressive. Curved walls displayed views of space in all directions, making it feel as if they were floating among the stars. At the center, a circular table seated the representatives of the 17 most powerful species in the galaxy. High Counselor Zixthar sat at the position of honor. Olivia and Alan stood on a small platform, feeling very small indeed. The rest of the human delegation stood behind them, looking both proud and nervous. This emergency session is now in progress, Zixthar announced. The verification team has confirmed Dr. Martinez's findings. The gravitational flux problem has been solved. Murmurs ran through the chamber. Some counselors looked pleased, others concerned. The question before us, Zixthar continued, is how to proceed. This discovery changes everything we know about cross-dimensional physics, and it was made by a level 2 species. A reptilian alien with shimmering scales spoke first. The solution must be protected. Level 2 species are not ready for such technology. The humans should be memory wiped and returned to Earth without this knowledge. Olivia felt a chill run down her spine. Alan stepped forward protectively. Counselor Drex exaggerates, said another, alien, this one resembling a tall, thin insect. But there are legitimate concerns. This technology could be dangerous in unprepared hands. My people created this solution, Olivia said, her voice stronger than she felt. You can't simply take it from us. Actually, we can, Counselor Drex replied. It is standard procedure for lower-level species who discover technology beyond their safety threshold. A new voice joined the debate, belonging to a cloud-like being contained in a special floating device. Perhaps there is another solution. The humans have proven themselves more capable than we anticipated. Maybe they deserve reconsideration. Are you suggesting we elevate an entire species based on one individual's accomplishment? Asked a small, furry counselor. It wasn't just me, Olivia pointed out. Alan's memory made it possible to gather the information I needed. And our human way of thinking, our primitive perspective, was what allowed us to see what you had missed for 1,000 years. Dr. Varleem had been sitting quietly at a side table reserved for expert advisors. Now he stood. I have studied thousands of species over my career. What the humans have demonstrated is not just intelligence but a unique perspective. Their different evolutionary path gives them insights our shared galactic culture may have lost. This is unprecedented, Zixthar said. No species has ever been considered for elevation so quickly after first contact. Perhaps, suggested another counselor, we should adopt a middle path. Allow the humans to retain their discovery, but restrict its application until they have proven themselves further. Olivia felt frustration building inside her. You talk about us as if we're children who found a dangerous toy. This discovery belongs to humanity as much as to the Council. The chamber fell silent. No Level 2 representative had ever spoken so boldly to the Council before. Dr. Martinez speaks with passion, Zixthar noted. Perhaps too much passion for formal Council proceedings. Alan stepped forward. If I may address the Council? Zixthar nodded permission. I'm not a scientist like Dr. Martinez, Alan began. I'm just someone with a good memory, but I've been taking notes on everything since we arrived, and I've noticed something important about the Council. He paused, looking around the room at the diverse aliens. You pride yourselves on unity and cooperation among different species. Your greatest achievements came when different perspectives worked together. Yet now, when humans offer a new perspective, some of you want to take our contribution without accepting us. Several counselors shifted uncomfortably. Dimensional resonance theory works because it recognizes that different forces can work together through harmony, not control. Alan continued. Perhaps this is a lesson for the Council as well. New perspectives shouldn't be feared. They should be welcomed. The chamber was quiet for a long moment. Then the cloud-like counselor spoke again. The human makes a valid point. Our fear of the unknown is the same limitation that prevented us from solving the physics problem. What do you propose then? Asked Zixthar. A compromise, said Dr. Varlim. Earth should be elevated to Level 3 status, with limited voting rights. A joint research team of humans and Council scientists will develop applications of the new theory together. The Council debated for hours. Olivia and Alan waited, occasionally answering questions but mostly listening as their future, and humanity's, was decided. Finally, Zixthar called for a vote. One by one, the counselors indicated their positions. The final tally was 11. In favor, 6 opposed. It is decided, Zixthar announced. Earth is hereby elevated to Level 3 status with provisional Council membership. A joint research initiative will be established to develop dimensional resonance technology under shared oversight. As the formal meeting concluded, counselors approached to congratulate them. Even Counselor Drex, who had argued for memory wiping, gave them a respectful nod. You have changed the course of galactic history today, Dr. Varlim told Olivia as they left the chamber. Some will resist, but most will come to see the value of your contribution. What happens now? Olivia asked. Now we build, he replied. Your theory will revolutionize travel, communication, energy, almost everything, but it will take time to implement safely. 3 months later, Olivia stood in the observation deck of the station, watching ships departing. Some now used the first practical applications of her theory, what the Council had officially named Martinez field generators. They moved with unprecedented speed and efficiency. Alan joined her at the viewport. The other human representatives are returning to Earth today. They're bringing news of our elevation and the technology sharing agreement. Are you going with them? Olivia asked. He shook his head. My place is here helping you explain your work to the research team. Besides, someone needs to keep taking notes. She smiled. I couldn't have done this without you. Sure you could. Have, he replied. But it wouldn't have been as much fun. A group of young alien scientists approached them, looking excited and nervous. Dr. Martinez, one said, we were hoping you might have time to speak with us. We're starting a new research program on dimensional resonance applications. Of course, Olivia replied. As she began explaining her ideas to the eager young scientists, a small crowd gathered to listen. She noticed that many were taking notes in the same simple paper notebook she preferred. Across the room, Zixthar watched this scene with interest. He moved to stand beside Dr. Varlim. Perhaps we have underestimated these humans, the High Counselor said quietly. Not just humans, Dr. Varlim replied. Perhaps we have underestimated the value of different perspectives in general. Who knows what other primitive species might teach us if we are willing to listen? Indeed. Zixthar nodded thoughtfully. For 1,000 years we believed ourselves to be the pinnacle of knowledge. Now we must learn to be students again. As Olivia finished her explanation, one of the young aliens asked, "Do you think there are other great problems that might be solved with human perspectives?" Olivia looked out at the stars, thinking of Earth and all the human minds that would now have the chance to contribute to galactic science. "I'm certain of it," she said. "This is just the beginning."